Thanks for joining me on episode 343 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Shannon Miles from Belay. I challenge you to discover your calling and find your third option so you can be empowered to live every day to the fullest. One way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader.
Filled our calendar with tons of stuff that really isn't important to us, that we really don't care about, that we really don't want to spend time doing. We've allowed those things onto our list, and we've sacrificed those very things, those priorities that should be and are, at least we say, the most important things.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about investing in others by stewarding your time, I talk with you about why it's your responsibility that you don't seem to have enough time to help others, some of the top reasons that you don't have enough time, and then a little bit about what you can do about it.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
I'd like to spend more time with others. I'd like to help others more. I'd like to spend more time with my family and investing in others, developing others, caring for others, spending time with others. I'd like to do that, but I just don't have enough time. I've heard that so many times from clients as I'm working with them on productivity about how they want to do these things. They want to spend time with others. They want to help others develop themselves, but they just don't have enough time. Or maybe you do have time yourself and you're looking for ways of helping others in using their time, like what I do as a coach. Well, the truth is, if you find yourself saying those words, I just don't have enough time to do this, whatever this is, and it's something that's important to you, the truth is that though it may not be your fault, it's almost certainly your responsibility. It's something that you have to own. You have to take responsibility for it, and you have to take responsibility for fixing it. Sometimes it actually is our fault, too. Sometimes we've done it to ourselves. All too often, we've filled our calendar with tons of stuff that really isn't important to us, that we really don't care about, that we really don't want to spend time doing. We've allowed those things onto our list, and we've sacrificed those very things, those priorities that should be and are, at least we say, the most important things. There's a strange paradox, there's a strange irony that sometimes the best way to begin helping others is by learning to not try to help everyone, by not trying to help too much, by not trying to fill your calendar with millions of things that you do just freely for everyone else without doing some sense of prioritization, some sense of filtering and figuring out what really should make your list versus what should not be allowed on your list. What isn't yours to deal with? Everyone says at one time or another, I just don't have enough time. Everyone has this problem. And that includes you and others. And the real truth is, more often than not, most people don't do anything about this problem other than complain about it. So what are some of the reasons that you may find yourself saying, I just don't have enough time? Listen to these and see if any of these sound familiar to you or sound like something that you've either have done or are doing to yourself right now. Some of the reasons include not controlling your sleep. That can be not controlling your bedtime, not controlling your wake up time. It's not just about what time do you get up. It's also about what time you go to bed. It's about not allowing your body to have enough sleep. Believe it or not, lack of sleep is one of the biggest saps for productivity and the ability to get things done well that we can do to ourselves. And yet all too often, sleep is one of the first things we sacrifice. We don't pay attention to our bedtime. We don't pay attention to our waking time. We don't have good sleep hygiene where we take care of ourselves and allow ourselves to have deep, restful sleep so that we can do well. And more often than not, a lot of times where that comes from is the fact that we haven't established good routines and habits. We haven't built up systems and habits that are good for us. I guarantee you have hundreds of habits that you execute on each and every day. Everyone does. But the truth is, most of those habits you're completely unaware of. You don't even think about them. You don't even allow yourself to deconstruct what's a good habit and what's a bad habit. And so more often than not, you have a ton of bad habits that lead to having bad routines. That's the pattern of staying up too late all the time and then complaining about the fact that you can't get up early. Those sorts of things happen to us, and we do it to ourselves. One of the biggest reasons is allowing too many things onto your to-do list, allowing everything to fall onto your list. This isn't just about delegation. This is also about learning to say no. This is about understanding what really should be allowed on your list and what shouldn't. Realize you always have a choice about what to allow on your list. Always. Even if you work for someone else and your boss tells you, hey, this needs to be on your list, you technically have a choice. You can say no. Now, there are consequences to that, and you may not want to say no, but you could. You've always got more control than you believe. Another big one, not budgeting, planning, reviewing, and reflecting about time. A lot of times we treat time as if it's this infinite resource. We've got enough time to do everything. We've got plenty of time for everything. But the truth is, time is one of the most finite resources on the planet. Money, time, and energy are all finite resources. You only have so many hours in the day, and so does everyone else. And so if you don't pay attention to that and figure out and proactively plan, how am I going to use my time? And then review and reflect on what really happened and learn over time to establish new habits, new routines, and get better at using your time, then you just kind of go through life winging it. One of the ironies is that as you plan and budget your time better, it gives you more freedom with your time, not less. One of the other reasons, here's another one that I've seen come up. Having a victim mindset around time, having this idea that I have no control over my time. The outside world puts it on me. I just never have enough time to get everything done. Another one, not setting and keeping priorities, not understanding that some things are more important than others and learning to say yes and no to things based on that importance. If you don't know your own priorities, it's really easy to not have any priority. And the last one, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, not keeping and setting boundaries around your time, not determining who and what gets to come into your calendar and speak into your time. So what can you do about it? What can you do if you find yourself saying, I just don't have enough time? Well, here's a couple of steps that you can take. One, recognize the value of your time. Recognize the fact that it is truly a finite resource and you have to gain control over it if you're going to get things done. Learn to say no way more often than you say yes. As part of that, you need to identify what your priorities are and put those big things on your list first. Put your priorities on your to-do list first. Understand what are the things that are non-negotiables. This happens no matter what. and put those on your list. Then you need to begin to identify your habits, develop new habits and routines, break the bad ones and form good ones. And that's easier said than done. You need to stop multitasking and learn to focus. And you need to begin to budget, plan, and review your use of time. As you do these things for yourself, ironically, it will create more time so that you can use that time to do the things that are most important to you and invest in the people that are the most important to you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 time tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.